wild how everyone's just podcasters now.
I know. I mean, like, that's literally Ted Cruz has a podcast, right? Josh Hawley has a podcast. Marjorie Taylor Greene has one.
Well, Bernie put out and I saw this interview, and we're going to play this. Like a Finnish, I think, government official talking about things like childcare and in college, and it just occurred to me, like, he should be doing this on the reg.
Yeah, political education is really important, and I mean, I think there's a thing that we often say, like, this isn't politics and something like that, but like, it becomes like a sort of political center for people to discuss these sort of things. And when you have Tulsi Gabbard creating her own sort of like loony bin, we need to have a bit more grounded.
Well, the value of this is really just to expand people's, when you talk about policies in this country, like, like the response, for instance, like with that debate with Palumbo that I did when I said 90% was the top marginal tax rate for over 15 years in this country for people making in what would be $3 million a year. The look on their face, and you can do this like a party trick. Everybody becomes completely shocked. And then they try and figure out, well, it's not the effective tax rate. The effective tax rate was close to about 50%. So compare that to where it is today, by any measure. And then they're like, well, but it didn't impact the GDP. Yeah, but what it did do is it helped with wealth distribution. The money was not in the hands of a very few. In fact, the fact that it didn't impact GDP makes the argument that we can do it.
Yeah.
And so this type of stuff is important. I remember at one point in the old office with old Matt and Michael, we had a listener come in. I think he was from Sweden. I can't remember off the top of my head now. And we were talking about, the problem with, we want to raise the minimum wage. We were talking about, and we asked him, what do you do with the working poor in your country? And he just like...
The what?
We don't have that. That's not a thing. Like it was like literally like we were talking to somebody who had come from the future and was wearing like, some type of weird, like, a one-piece, nylon suit. And this is, I got the same feeling watching this, where like Bernie's talking to this guy from Finland, and it's ridiculous. Watch this.
Tell me about the childcare system that exists in Finland.
Well, our childcare system is mainly, we have municipal childcare centers, so it's a public system. We also have private kindergartens, but in my case, I only can tell my Helsinki experience. Basically, the range of payments starts from 30 euros, which is basically now $30 these days. It depends.
$30 a month?
Yeah, a month. It depends on your income. Then the maximum rate for high income earners, it's $300 per month.
Okay, $300 a month is $3,600 a year. In this state of Vermont, which is just about average for the nation, it's about $15,000 a year. All right, let me ask you another question.
Pause it. This, as a filmmaker now, what I want to do is cut to the guy from Finland who's got a look on his face like,
yeah,
what?
Right.
But go ahead.
It's the issue of education and higher education in particular. If I were interested in becoming a doctor in Finland, I have to go to college, I have to go to medical school. In this country, it is not uncommon for people to leave medical school $300,000 or $400,000 in debt. How much debt do I leave medical school and college in Finland?
Well, basically, there are no fees. There are no tuition fees, so it means that you don't pay for the education itself. You get state financial aid for students for your living expenses. Then it basically depends on a number of factors if you need to borrow some money. If you don't have the time, if you really want to focus on your studies, you don't want to supplement your income by working like sort of part-time, then of course you can borrow money and then you can have some debt, but still, like in many cases, people graduate without having any debt. So did I. So I was lucky in that sense.
In the United States, and I know all over the world, people can make a good living and do important work without a 4-year college degree. What do you do in terms of technical education to make sure that people can become, good construction workers or whatever?
Yeah, we run a system of vocational schools. So usually people go to vocational school after the comprehension school. So that takes 2 years, 3 years, and then they graduate and they usually start in different kinds of professions. I think it's really important path in our education system, because we know that you need also skilled workers, people, but it's not only skilled workers. They need to have good basic education so that they can be retrained down the road, because the needs and professions change. So we always try to make sure that they get good basic education, then vocational training, which is ample and enough for demanding professions, but then also can be retrained later on in their lives.
Just some other statistics. Finland's highest marginal tax rate is 60%. So a little bit more of closer to the ages in the United States where we didn't have such income inequality. And homelessness in Finland affected a little less than 4,400 people by the end of 2021. Long-term homelessness is just a little over 1,000 people. It's the only country in the European Union where homelessness is currently falling. They have a housing first policy, which puts homeless individuals into rental homes and then gives them treatment. Just some of the things that are possible when you have a system of taxation that is not rigged in favor of the wealthy and corporations. And shout out to my Finnish
Well, let me
Finnish
just ask
fan.
you about the from a geographical standpoint. Finland is located on which planet? Like, how many light years would we have to travel to get to this really strange place?
It took me like 7 hours when I flew to Helsinki.
And you need to do that on a rocket, right?
Right,
Because
yes.
this is from a completely different planet.
In light years.
I mean, this is the thing is that, like, if I had any bone to pick with that, with that video, it would just be like, there needs to be more just disbelief.
Yeah.
There just needs to be more disbelief.
Reaction shots.
Like,
Yeah, but
there
he
needs to be
might
reaction.
not be in disbelief. Like the United
when
States is an
Bernie's-
international joke in this sense. Like
I
he
know.
might not actually be.
But even like Bernie's got to like not play it so straight. Like,
Yeah, mug it,
He's just
Bernie.
got to go like, wait, what?
Excuse me?
Really?
Yeah, right.
Holy cow! How is that possible? Surely there must be cats and dogs reigning.
Or at least like look at the camera like disbelief.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
do. You got to.
He's gotta office
You got to
it.
do this, and so it's $30 a month.
I know Jim
You
Halper
need one of
face.
those. You need one of those things.
Right.
He needs to look directly into the camera and go like, "Can you believe this stuff?" But
Your
yes,
slide whistle.
more of this. Like, yeah, I mean, imagine if they ran that interview on cable news. I don't know, just like 3 times in a week on every cable news station, and the American public would be like, "Wait a second.
Yeah.
How is this possible? How can this happen?"
Right-wing politicians go, well, it's because they're homogeneous.
Yes, they're
Coded
completely homogenous,
languages,
right?
yeah. I mean, Bernie just needs a soundboard like you where he can do record scratch, like whatever.
There's got to be a
What are you talking about?
folks. The phone lines are up. 646-257-3920 is the number. Speaking of phone lines,